Good morning, everyone. Welcome to FPC Radio Live. It's Friday, September 22nd, 2022 or 23 at 9:22 in the morning, actually. How about that? What a coincidence, John. Today is the, let me do some quick math. 1, 2, 3, plus 10, plus 3, 16, John. That's just how I do math, if you were wondering. 16 years since the infamous, dare I say infamous, I'm a man, I'm 40, college football rant.
Yep.
I laughed at the time, but as I approach 40, I kind of, it loses some of its humor to me because, well, it's almost time for me to make that rant at some point. It's getting there. It's getting there. Probably it's at some sort of quarterback debate in the future. I'm going to go off the rails like that. But I always that was a pretty famous 2007. That was obviously the undefeated Patriot season. So there was I don't know, that year just it's a little different for me. You know what I mean? For some reason, everything that happened that year, it's like I remember it pretty vividly.
Yeah, the Red Sox won the World Series.
Yes.
A month later.
Well, it's surprising, too, because I turned 21 in 2007. So the fact that I do remember a lot of that stuff is, technically, I guess I turned 21 late in 2007. So
I wish I was 40 again. I'm 60 now. So that's 20 years ago. So
yeah.
I'm not too far away from that point. I believe I was 44 in 2007. Man, I'm old.
Yeah, well, there you go. You're I'm old. You're confused. It's what happens.
True.
So I'm an old man. I'm 60. Oh,
I'm
man.
60.
Yeah.
What's my name again?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's fun. It's funny because anyone who was obviously alive at that time knows that rant, and it's just I'm sure it's going to be played quite a bit today. But anyways, it's not 2007, John. It's 2023. And your San Francisco 49ers, not yours, but any 49ers fans out there, they're 3-0. 3-0. Nice win over a shorthanded Giants team. I said yesterday, all the Giants really had to do was make it a game. Well, they kind of made it a game early on. And then San Francisco sort of took over there late in the second quarter and really didn't look back. I mean, look, what can you expect this Giants team to do? They're not terribly talented as it is. When you lose your starting running back and your big time left tackle, well, guess what? You're going to have some problems, and the Giants did. And look, John, I'll say this: if you were going to ask me what the outcome of this game was going to be after Week 1, I would have said it was going to be a lot worse than this. So I guess kudos to the Giants. I guess I don't know, but San Francisco just did what they did. They didn't even really play a great game, John. Offensively, Brock Purdy was pretty good. That throw to Deebo Samuel in the end zone, one of his best throws of the night early on, especially that first drive. Very shaky at first, but this is what great teams do. They kind of work out the kinks early on in the game, and by the end of it, you're like, okay, there's another 30-point night for the San Francisco 49ers offense.
He doesn't have to be even close to being perfect for that offense to work. As long as he's competent, takes care of the football, doesn't turn it over, makes the throws when necessary. Because look at the talent around him. He has the best all-around running back in football, and Christian McCaffrey, who could play wide receiver. He's got a great wide receiver in Deebo Samuel, who could also play running back if needed. So think about the versatility of those two great players. George Kittle, top 5 tight end, and although he didn't play last night, Brandon Ayuk on probably 2/3 of the teams in the NFL would be a number 1 wide receiver, and he's at this point like the 3rd option or the 4th option, the 3 players. And then, oh, by the way, that offensive line has the best left tackle in football in Trent Williams, and Kyle Shanahan, whether you like him or not, can design offenses and call offensive plays. Sometimes it doesn't work in the fourth quarter of NFC Championship games or Super Bowls, but for the most part, he's pretty darn good at what he does. So, yeah, Brock Purdy's in a great situation. Just be confident, don't turn it over, and sometimes get out of the way and let those playmakers do what they do.
Yeah, every time I watch the 49ers, though, I unfortunately fall into the trap of wondering, man, what it would look like with Tom Brady under center. I know, like, look, they very well could be good enough with Brock Purdy to win a Super Bowl. They're certainly winning plenty of regular season games. So hats off to them. And like I said, 3-0, you can't be upset with that in any instance. But certainly a team that I think you kind of watching on pins and needles though, because we saw Debo Samuel go down, albeit very briefly, but I'm pretty sure every 49er fan out there was, holding their breath. And then I feel like it's the same way with Christian McCaffrey. Every time he touches the ball, and he touches the ball a lot, John, you're just waiting, because really all it takes is that one play. We saw it with Aaron Rodgers. One play, and guys that have been injured on a fairly regular basis. That's enough to kind of throw this machine into turmoil, so to speak. And that's obviously concerning, and that's an issue for any team. I mean, look, the Chiefs lose Patrick Mahomes, they're not going to win a Super Bowl. The Bengals might not win a Super Bowl anyways, but the Bills lose Josh Allen, they're not winning a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? It's just obviously big injuries are going to impact every team. But San Francisco, I feel, is just like they have. I feel like they're the most vulnerable, right? Does that make sense, or is it just me living off the history of them having just terrible injury history the last handful of years?
Well, the history injury issues came in 2020, the year after they went to the Super Bowl, because Nick Bosa got injured early in the season, missed most of that, if not all of that season. Remember, he got hurt at the Meadowlands, and I think Debo Samuel was in and out of the lineup. And McCaffrey had about back-to-back years with Carolina where he was missing a lot of time. But since he's been in San Francisco, he seems like he's been able to stay healthy. He still touches the ball a lot, and why wouldn't you give him the ball a lot? He's so versatile. But yeah, I mean, they have so many high-end players that, if one is missing at a given time, I think they can scheme up and still be a real productive offense. They didn't have Brandon Ayuk last night. So, do you think the 49ers might start doing load management with some of these skilled players, like maybe give Debo Samuel a night off at some point? I mean, it doesn't happen in football, but to preserve these guys after a 17-game schedule, have them ready in the postseason, maybe you do that. Maybe you give Christian McCaffrey a light load one night so that, you keep him as fresh as possible. Because they have enough on offense where they don't need all four of those skilled guys to be out there at a given time to still be productive. Like I said, they still put 30 on the board last night, could have put up even more, and that's without one of their best receivers, Brandon Ayuk. They're loaded. But look at Dallas. They just lost their top corner, Stephon Diggs, in practice yesterday. So it is a war of attrition, and we're 3 weeks into this, and we're already seeing a lot of high-end players, out for the season, whether it's Nick Chubb, Aaron Rodgers, now Stephon Diggs. This is the way the sport works, and you just hope when you get to January, February, you're as healthy as you can be.
How big of an injury do you think that is? Because look, Micah Parsons is obviously their best player and perhaps the best player in football, but Trayvon Diggs is a pretty big home run hitter, meaning like he's gonna make some plays, he's gonna swing the momentum with some turnovers, but he's also gonna do it in the sense that he's gonna be over aggressive and he's gonna allow points. So how big of a swing is this? So we were talking obviously just the other day that San Francisco and Dallas are clearly through the first couple of weeks the two best teams in the NFC. Dallas looks like a juggernaut, but how big of an injury is this? Because it is going to be an impact, no doubt about it. He's a really good player, but is this Dallas team built to overcome that?
Yeah, I mean, the issues will be obviously you play 2 games against Philadelphia that will most likely decide the division, and you have to go up against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So now you got Steph Gilmore, who is 34 and still a very good cornerback, but now he's going to have to be your number one cornerback. I think when Gilmore went to Dallas, he probably felt like, okay, I've got a young stud on the other side, so I can kind of, not take it easy in my advanced stage, but not have as much pressure on me. Well, now that pressure's on Steph Gilmore, and you figure Dallas will probably go into the market and try to find another corner. And Diggs is a guy, like you said, he's a home run hitter. He'll give up some big plays, but also in a sport where defenses can't really stop offenses as regularly as they used to, those turnovers are huge, and he does create a lot of turnovers. So, yeah, that's going to be a big loss for them.
Yeah, I think you made a great point. I think the turnovers are the biggest factor. I mean, forget about the points given up. Forget about all these other little things. It's the momentum swings and the opportunities created from the turnovers he creates. I mean, look, defenses are going to allow points, and and if it's limited to Diggs, swinging and missing on a few plays and allowing Dallas giving up a few big plays, so be it. I think they'll trade that off to get the turnover prowess, I guess. So in that regard, it's going to be a huge impact because now Dallas is going to have to create those turnovers and extra opportunities in a different way. And I think that's the biggest factor because at the end of the day, the offense has been pretty good, John. It's not. I don't think I'd sit here and say I'm worried about the Dallas offense. Are you?
No,
I think they're more. Yeah. So.
Yeah, especially if that offensive line stays healthy. That's the key. If Tyron Smith at left tackle and Zach Martin at right guard. I mean, those two guys are potentially future Hall of Famers. I mean, they're that good. If they're healthy, that offensive line should be in good shape. CeeDee Lamb's an elite wide receiver. I think Brandon Cooks can, be a nice number 2 for them. They can run the football. And again, it falls into Dak Prescott. What's he going to be? Again, if he limits his turnovers, that offense will be just fine. And then you've got that elite defense, maybe the best defense in football, along with, say, San Francisco, the Jets, and a few other teams. That should be enough for them win that division because that's important. If you finish second in that division, all of a sudden you're the 5 seed, you're on the road in the wild card round. You most likely have to win 3 road games to get to the Super Bowl. That's not an easy road to try to travel. But, I think Dallas is going to win that division. I think they're better than Philadelphia. But again, that offensive line, especially Tyron Smith, who's missed like half the games the last 3 years, he is such a key component to that team. He's so good when he's out there and healthy. And when he's out, they just don't have anybody that can even replicate him, and that causes a lot of problems for that offense. So that's obviously a concern for Dallas because they've got 2 offensive linemen that are great offensive linemen, but they're old. Old guys get hurt.
Well, and like here's the thing. I don't necessarily believe yet that they're better than Philadelphia. I think they've gotten off to a better start, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not ready to pass the torch after 2 weeks. So there's certainly, it's not like they're in the the NFC South and well, actually, I mean, again, there's 3 teams in the NFC South that are 2-0. So maybe that was a bad example, but you know what I mean. They're not in a division that like, okay, you have some wiggle room. No, I Philadelphia is not going to go away. I mean, they may not have as great of a season as they did a year ago, but this is not the Giants. It's not the Commanders, and even the Commanders. I mean, who knows how the season's going to play out for Sam Howell? But if he's playing like he's playing, well, Washington's going to win some games, and they're likely going to come in the division as well. So, yeah, this is the more we talk about it, the more I think it is a pretty significant injury for a team that, again, this isn't a team that's got some history, recent history rather, I should be more specific, recent history to fall back on and just say, okay, no, we're going to figure it out. Like, no, this is a team that like after a couple weeks think, okay, maybe we can do it this year. And then all of a sudden you get dealt a blow like this and you're like, all right, well, it's the same old NFL season. We're going to get some injuries. We're going to fall back to the pack and that's going to be it. So, we'll see how it plays out. We'll see how it plays out, but I it's definitely and that's what you get with the NFL though, John. I mean, this was practice, not a game, not Diggs going and making a play. He gets injured in practice, and that's it's unfortunate. So, anyways, another note: we have a friend of friends. That came out 29 years ago today. I just saw that on Twitter. But
I never got it. I just did. I mean, I was a Seinfeld guy, so Friends to me was like a rip off, and it wasn't anywhere near as close as good. That's probably unfortunate, right? Like, so Seinfeld, Tom Brady, and Friends is maybe like a really other great quarterback that just could compare to Tom Brady. So maybe I was a snob about it, but and maybe I don't know. It was an okay show. Let's put it that way. I mean, that's probably not the best thing to say on radio, pick a side, but it was okay. And
no,
I love Jennifer Aniston like every other guy. She's like everybody's dream girl, but it was an okay show.
Well, I brought it up to share the same opinion of you that Seinfeld is greater than Friends. I don't share a disdain for the show like some people do. Some people like hate it like I hate the Jets. It's a little intense. But the thing is I cannot see David Swimmer outside of anything but as Sobel,
Hmm.
Lieutenant Sobel from Band of Brothers. So anytime I watch that show, that's just kind of what I see. So it kind of changes the dynamic for me a little bit. So, by the way, Band of Brothers, great. Obviously, if you read the book, it's
Hmm.
fantastic as well. The show obviously just came. They just put it out on Netflix. So if anyone has Netflix and
Okay.
not HBO, go ahead, throw it on. It's a great watch. Um, anyway, so week 3 we got coming up. Pretty interesting week. We got some decent matchups. That Patriots Jets one would have been a little bit more interesting had you know Aaron Rodgers not got injured, and we missed out on that. But well, maybe we'll get it next year, John. Next year when the Patriots are a little bit better. The Patriots 115 million in cap availability next year. Whew. I mean, for those railing, this who knows how this season's going to turn out, and maybe people are going to be a lot more disappointed um, than we wanted, myself included. But I feel like next year is going to be kind of a pretty big off season for this team, considering how much money that they had to spend. But that's besides the point. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, John. I'm trying to anticipate a Patriots versus Aaron Rodgers matchup. I'm just going to have to get that in 2024. But we do have several games, 3, 6, 7, 8, 14, 15 games, Sean. See, that's how I do math. That's just how my mind works. I'm looking at the sheet, adding up different numbers. I come to 15 games between tomorrow and Monday. So let's pick them, huh?
Absolutely.
All right. I will skip the part where I tell you what my record is overall because, well, I'm too ashamed to share it. But nonetheless, we will continue to come out here and, of course, give our picks until you say otherwise. And even if you do say otherwise, we're still going to keep doing it. So, game numero uno. Indianapolis at Baltimore, the battle of two franchises that obviously have connections to the Colts. I like Baltimore in this one. They're an 8-point favorite according to the sheet that I'm looking at, so I'm sure they're somewhere in that ballpark. Um, this is a team that I think is just quietly going about their business. Baltimore, I think their offense has played pretty well. Not spectacular. I think that's going to get better, and I think they're going to have a pretty solid game against Baltimore and Gardner Minshew, I'm assuming.
Yeah, he's going to play right because Anthony Richardson is in concussion protocol. Again, Baltimore, I mean, they're coming off a big win over Cincinnati. I don't think they'll be flat. They're a veteran team, well coached. And again, what's the point if you beat Cincinnati one week and then lose to Indianapolis the next week? It's kind of a net negative, actually, although winning in the division is a little bit more important. But yeah, Baltimore should take care of business on Sunday.
Next, we got Denver at Miami. I mean, I like Miami. I think the Patriots did a good job of containing the receivers, but obviously Miami is like a team like San Francisco. They just have a lot of weapons to choose from. So give me the Dolphins or at home against the Broncos.
Upset special of the week. I think Denver's going to go into Miami and win outright. They lost 2 really close games at home to the Raiders and Commanders. Miami coming off of 2 big wins on the road at the Chargers, at the Patriots. Now they're home. I don't know if they'll be flat, but I don't think they'll be as pumped up as they were the first 2 weeks. I like Denver in an upset.
Next, we have New England at the Jets, going for 15 straight victories over the New York Football Jets. I
Mm-hmm.
never got football giants. I never got that. But anyways, I got the Patriots in this one. I mean, I can't see this team falling to 0-3. I mean, even though it's kind of the same script we've seen the last couple of years. They do some nice things. They shoot themselves in the foot and they lose. So nonetheless, it is the Jets. So I do like the Patriots in this one. Give me New England.
I like the Jets. I think their defense will be the best unit on the field. And here's something to think about. In his last 17 starts, Mac Jones is 6-11. In his last 17 starts, Zach Wilson is 7-10. So I know that we all agree that Mac Jones is a better quarterback than Zach Wilson without question. I think the rest of the roster of the Jets is enough to put the Jets over the top. And yeah, they're going for their 15th straight win against the Jets. They've won 22 of the last 24. I think it's going to be a slog, like 16-13. Might be a weather game. There'll be a lot of rain in New Jersey and up the East Coast on Sunday, but I'll take the Jets.
Next, we have Jacksonville hosting the Texans. I thought Jaguars were very disappointing, especially their offense against the Chiefs. Not to discredit Chiefs, I thought they played great on defense, but I expected the offense and Trevor Lawrence specifically to look a little bit better, and they didn't. I think they get a little bit more on track in this divisional matchup against the Texans, so I'll take the Jags.
Yeah, I like the Jags. The Jags would have beat the Chiefs last week if they played on a CFL field. Like, how many touchdown passes would have Trevor Lawrence had? Like, he had 3 opportunities and 3 different situations where the receiver caught the ball at the back of the end zone but had 1 foot out. So you got to kind of button that up a little bit and clear up those mishaps. But yeah, they should be fine in this game. Get 2-1.
Next, we have Tennessee heading to Cleveland. I don't really have too much of a feeling on this game either way. I think they're 2 teams that really won't play a factor one way or the other. So in this regard, I do like Tennessee. Yeah, I like Tennessee on the road.
This is one I can't quite figure out, but I'll go with Cleveland. They're at home. Their defense is really good. They haven't given up much all year. I mean, Pittsburgh was scoring defensive touchdowns on Monday night to beat the Browns. It's kind of interesting that they spent 3 first-round picks and some other draft capital and signed Deshaun Watson to this $230 million guaranteed contract. And actually, Baker Mayfield, the first 2 weeks of the season, has outplayed Deshaun Watson by miles, leading Tampa Bay to a 2-0 record. But I'll take Cleveland. Again, their defense is really good.
Next, we have Atlanta going to Detroit. And, John, I got the Falcons winning this one. They've impressed me the first couple of weeks of the season. You've been on them early on to win that division. We talk about going out and having a big dud after a big win. Well, that's what happened to the Lions last week, and I think it kind of continues. I mean, maybe I'm overreacting here, but I've just got a sour taste in my mouth about the Lions right now. And as good as their offense can be, and as exciting as they look on the field, you lose your safety. That's going to hurt. And I think this team. I think they're going to kind of get hit in the mouth in this one. So give me the Falcons.
I like the Falcons as well. I'm looking at this theory this year that when teams play on Thursday night, go against them the Sunday before, it's almost like they've got, like their mind on their next game. So Detroit's playing Green Bay on Thursday night of week 4. So I think that the Falcons will go into Detroit. And again, they run the football very effectively. Do you think you can do against Detroit? This might be the most exciting game of the weekend, though, right? Because you've got Atlanta 2-0, Detroit 1-1 with a win over Kansas City. Should be maybe the most exciting game of the weekend, but I'll take the Falcons. I'm in agreement with you.
All right, next we have the Packers hosting the Saints. The Packers kind of coming off a pretty devastating loss as they, they lost in the waning seconds of the game last week. I like them to rebound against the Saints. I think the Packers have some things to work out. Obviously, new quarterback, kind of getting trying to figure out who they are. I still like them better than the Saints because, well, the Saints have Derek Carr, and I'm just not a Derek Carr guy. So, yeah, give me Green Bay on this one. It'll be close, but I like Green Bay at home.
I'll take the Saints. Again, sometimes when I'm like trying to figure out these games of 2 somewhat evenly matched teams, I'll just take the team with the best unit, and I think the Saints defense will be the best unit on the field on Sunday. Jordan Love off to a great start. The Packers are 1-1. He's the highest rated quarterback in football right now, according to passer rating. That's impressive. I know it's only 2 weeks, but he's off to a good start.
Are you saying that? Never mind. I'm not even gonna open up.
Maybe
that
it's gonna be 40 straight years of really good quarterback play in Green Bay with Favre, Rodgers, and Love.
Yeah,
and maybe only 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah. hey, I was first.
That was your line. That's right.
That was my line. Don't you forget it.
That.
I'll remind you. I'll remind you.
Plagiarism is out. Yep.
Washington hosting Buffalo. Look, I took Buffalo in this one, but don't sleep on Washington. Like I said, if Sam Howell keeps playing some really good football, this team has some real nice offensive talent. Eric Bieniemy is obviously in charge of the offensive play calling and structure now, so that's obviously a factor. I like I said, I like Buffalo in this one, but don't be surprised if Washington keeps it pretty close and is kind of a threat here at the end. So Buffalo, but on the fence.
I'll take Buffalo too, but yeah, this has a chance to be a wild game, right? Supposed to be some weather in Washington, or obviously in Maryland where they play. And again, you're right, Ian. They got some nice offensive weapons, and they've got a really good defensive front that might be able to neutralize Josh Allen. But I think Buffalo kind of pounded away a little bit last week against Vegas, and I think they'll continue for a close win over the Commanders.
Chargers heading to Minnesota, Los Angeles. The little connection here, Minnesota, the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
Got the majority of the Los Angeles Lakers titles, but hey, Los Angeles takes credit for them anyways. It is what it is. A little connection there, not really, because I mean these. It's just based on the city that they play in. So, and as we know, the Chargers are from San Diego. I'm just now getting over calling them the San Diego Chargers, by the way. You know why? Because they haven't done anything of significance. That's what it is. They don't win, just like Minnesota. I mean, talk about two identical teams in the sense that all the hype never coming through, ever. And it's like, I mean, they're very similar in that sense. I mean, they play different types of football. That, you know what I mean? In that sense, they're different. But I'm saying just in terms of their historical arc in the last like 10 years, if they feel like the same team. But I think San Diego / Los Angeles / the Chargers, I think they win this one in Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, both are 0-2, right? And they had high hopes going into the season. And they are similar teams, and they both can put points on the board. They have some issues on defense, and they always seem to find ways to lose. And they're always involved in these kind of crazy games, right? I mean, crazy games with Minnesota in last year. They were 11-0 in one-score games. How many times do we see the Chargers losing in bizarre fashion? If this is the one game a week that you pick for a tie, you'd probably go with this one. Although both offenses are really good, defense not so much, so someone would score in overtime. But yeah, I'll go with the Chargers here. They should be able to take care of business on the road against Minnesota, but nothing will surprise me in this game.
Next, we have Seattle hosting Carolina. I like Seattle in this one. I'm still not quite sure how good the Seahawks team is. I was really kind of down on them coming into the year. Carolina, I don't think, especially without their quarterback, it's not going to be a big test in my opinion. But I'll take Seattle at home.
Yeah, I like Seattle here. Impressive win at Detroit after a kind of confusing loss against the Rams in Week 1. Seattle gets 2-1, better team right now than Carolina for sure.
Next, we have Kansas City hosting the Bears over the next, I think 5 weeks. Kansas City's the combined record of the teams that they're playing is 1-11. So if there's ever a time for them to get things going again on offense, this is the time. So I'll obviously be taking Kansas City. If you're a Chiefs fan, I know they're going to be eager to see a kind of a well-oiled machine type performance from this offense, who's at times kind of looked out of sync, and certainly you want to get Kelsey back in the groove. So, anyways, I'll take Kansas City in this one.
Yeah, Kansas City. I mean, Chicago's a mess at this point. The quarterback is blaming the coaching for his poor play. Yeah. The defensive coordinator resigned after having.
Who knows? I mean, who knows?
Who knows what's going on with that story?
That's such just a bizarre story, from fake news reports to real news reports, both of which just sound ridiculous. So it's I don't know.
Yeah.
So you're right. There's just a lot going on in Chicago that has nothing to do with what's going on the field.
Right. So I think we're in agreement. Kansas City probably, has a breeze in this game against the Windy City.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be a breeze though, John, because this Kansas City team is not defensively. They've played very well, and I think regardless of if they're playing very well, you're going to be fine against Chicago. It's the offense, and you still need to get in sync. So I don't know if it's going to be just an absolute steamroll. I think maybe there's it might be close early on and they'll pull away. Like I said, I mean, these are the type of games where you really got to get, these are the opportunities that you have as a really good team to kind of get your offense back in a groove. And I think that's what they're going to do. So maybe it's not a big blowout win, but I think they're going to be coming out of this week thinking, okay, yeah, we're okay. This offense, this looked a lot more similar to what we've seen the last 4 or 5 years. So, all right, next we have Arizona hosting the Cowboys. Nice soft landing for the Cowboys after that injury this week. So I don't think it's going to be a huge factor. They're obviously, I think they're going to win on the road. So give me the Cowboys. But moving forward, obviously, it's going to be interesting to see how they adjust and react to all this.
Yeah, I mean that injury could be devastating for sure. It's early enough in the season where you get closer to the trade deadline, maybe they add a corner to the roster, but Dallas should roll at Arizona. Arizona, give them credit in a sense. I mean, we all feel they're the worst team in football, but they were in both of those games against the Commanders and Giants, and then they kind of lost control in the fourth quarter. But I think Dallas, which is better than Washington and the Giants, should take care of business in the desert.
All right, next we got Steelers heading to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. I like the Raiders in this one. I know the Steelers are coming off a pretty big defensive performance, and I think they'll obviously have another pretty good game today. But offensively, they still seem to be struggling to find out who they are. They're certainly not the 3-0 preseason team. Everyone was getting hyped about. They got talent, but I don't know if they're necessarily going to put it together against the Raiders. But then again, John, it's the Raiders, and every time I have any sort of confidence in them to do anything, they do the opposite. So I'm going to take the Raiders, which naturally means the Steelers are probably going to win by 3 touchdowns.
Well, you just gave me my pick. I'll take the Steelers.
Okay, there you go then. All right, and Sunday Night Football. Let's wrap this up. Tampa Bay hosting the Eagles. Interesting because, look, Tampa's intriguing. They have a new offensive coordinator, which I think through 2 weeks, you can already see a difference in how they approach the offensive game plan. I mean, first of all, they make adjustments. That's new. I mean, you're not getting the run, pass, 3rd and long situation that you pretty much got 70% of every single game last year. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think this is going to tell us a lot more about who Tampa is. I don't think they win the game, but I think it's going to be pretty close. I like the Eagles in this one.
Yeah, I mean, they have 2-0. They haven't looked overly impressive, but they got a little extra prep time here because they played on a Thursday night. Tampa surprised us with that 2-0 start, but Philadelphia is still a class above Tampa and should be able to get the 3-0.
So there you have it, folks. We just gave you our picks, and I think we disagreed on a few, so there's going to be some discrepancies there, unless they all tie, and then we're both wrong on all of those. So that'll be interesting. So anyways, that's going to do it. We'll save our Monday night pick for, Monday night, because that seems a little bit more appropriate. But for the time being, we hope everyone has a great weekend. Be sure to tune in Sunday morning when we do the Full Press NFL Sunday show to preview these games once again and talk some more news, see if anything else comes down the news wire between now and then. But until then, have a great Friday, have a great Saturday, and we will talk to you here on this show on Monday. Have a good one, folks.